Sajini will start the program. I will introduce you and then.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very sorry, but there's no electricity, so you may not be able to see my video at all. Welcome to the School of Ancient Wisdom. We will wait maybe another 2 minutes. People are joining. We're waiting for a few minutes. So welcome, Dr. Thimmappa Hegde, and welcome, Dr. Komal. We're really very, very pleased to have you here. And Dr. Thimmappa Hegde, we have come halfway today. This is our 5th session, and every session has been so enlightening, so interesting. So thank you so much. Today, our 5th session, we have Dr. Komal, who will be speaking to us. And for this, I now hand it over to Dr. Thimmappa Hegde to kindly introduce Dr. Komal. Thank you.
Thank you, Sajini, for giving us an opportunity to take part in the programs for the School of Ancient Wisdom. And as I've been seeing, the participation is very good. The interaction is also excellent. As you rightly brought out, we have come midway. After going through the introduction of what our scriptures are, the various sadhanas, we have now finished all of them. And now we come to this topic of what are the qualifications required for a person to enter into the world of Vedanta? Just like a person, if you are entering into any higher studies, what are the qualifications a person must come? To speak to us, we have Dr. Komal Prasad. Dr. Komal Prasad is a senior consultant neurosurgeon working with us at the Narayana Health for over 15 years. He's been a very integral part of the growth of this department, and I've seen those early days. Today, we have more than 20 junior doctors who help us, and in those days, it was we had to rely on Dr. Komal alone for all the work that was being done. It is also good to see people in the field of medicine, in the cutting edge of medicine, also who are ardently interested in spirituality and the field that we are in, Advaita Vedanta, and has been an integral part of all our study program. Dr. Komal did his neurosurgical training, his postgraduate degree at the Sri Chitra Tirunal Institute of Medical Sciences in Trivandrum. He was a rank holder in Mysore Medical College. We did his MBBS, and then he did his MS from the Karnataka Institute of Medical Sciences in Hubli. In addition to his interest in, in addition to his qualifications as a neurosurgeon, he's also trained to be and selected as the principal assessor for NABH, which is the National Board for Hospital and Healthcare Providers. In addition, he's got a diploma, postgraduate diploma degree in hospital and healthcare management under the National Law School of Bangalore. He's been on the executive committee for Young Neurosurgeons Forum of the World Federation of Neurosurgical Societies. He's also created the Center of Excellence for Research at the Majumdar Shaw Medical Center, Bangalore, on nanoparticles. In addition to his work with us at Narayana, Dr. Komal has been instrumental in starting neurosurgical services also at the Narayana Hospital in Mysore. And then he started the neurosurgery services at the Narayana Center at the Cayman Islands in the Caribbean. Dr. Komal, please take over.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for the nice introduction. And thanks all of you to log in and show your interest in this continuing program on Vedanta. So today we'll talk on Viveka, Vairagya, and Mumukshutvam. Before, as is customary in this series, we have chosen a mantra. Today's mantra is the very famous, popular Gayatri Mantra. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The Gayatri Mantra goes like this. Om Bhu Bhuvasvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo devasya dhimahi dhiyo yo na prachodayat. Generally we chant this Gayatri Mantra as a japa. Very sacred, very popular. So to know a little bit on the details of Gayatri Mantra, it is said that any mantra we can consider in two ways. We can consider it as Shabda Pradhana, concentrating only on the sound of the mantra. That itself is said to give some beneficial effects. We being intellectual beings, we tend to think about the meaning. What's the meaning of the mantra? And that is Artha Pradhana. So we can either see a mantra as a Shabda Pradhana or Artha Pradhana. So if we consider the Artha Pradhana, the meaning wise, here this Gayatri Mantra is set in Gayatri meter. And that's a Chandas, Gayatri Chandas of 8 letters and in 3 sentences. The actual Gayatri is this, which comes in the later part. It starts with the Pranava. Pranava is the Om. And next is Bhur Bhuva Swaha is called Vyahriti. So sacred utterance. And then the actual Gayatri starts from Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. So coming to the meaning of Om. Om is Pranama. We know Om, the meaning of this thing, Om, it is something which protects. Omkara is derived from the root Au Rakshane. Avati Rakshati iti Om. The one which protects is called Om, which covers and which protects. And similarly, meaning-wise, Bhur Bhuva Swaha represent the 3 Lokas, which are manifestation of the Lord, of the Supreme Being, creator of the universe. I remember Om, the Lord, who manifests in the form of 3 Lokas. Lokas, you can consider 3 Lokas, or it can actually be Lokas, 3 ways in which the world universe appears to us. Bhur Bhuva Swaha. Then the actual Gayatri starts from Tat Savitur Varenyam. The literal meaning, simply put, comes to this. We meditate upon the sacred effulgence of the sun god, which activates our intellect. So this Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha actually represents Chatushpada Brahman. Om is representing the Brahman. Bhur Bhuva Swaha is representing the 3 Lokas. So that is the Saguna Vishwa Tejasa Prajna. That is Bhur Bhuva Swaha. Om represents the Nirguna Turiyam. So that's the Chatuspada Brahman. That is Pranama and Vyahriti put together. And coming to the Gayatri, Savitur, that which procreates universe. That's the material cause of universe. So this is the Vedantic meaning. This is a very ancient mantra and there are various different interpretations. What I'm concentrating today is the simple meaning that we are remembering the sun god who activates our intellect, who is activating our intellect. And going a little deeper, the Vedantic meaning, we'll go word by word. Savitur means that one which procreates the universe, the material cause of the universe. Upadana Karanam. And then Devasya is the intelligent cause of the universe. That's a Nimitta Karanam. Savitur Devasya means Apinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam. That's Ishvara, that's the material cause as well as the intelligent cause. Bhargo is the light, effulgent, who is capable of removing the darkness. That's a Chit Swarupam. Varenyam is something venerable, which is worth choosing by all, which is Purnatvam, the fulfillment. That's the Ananda Swarupam. So Tat Savitur is Sat Swarupam, Tat Bharga is Chit Swarupam, and Tat Varenyam is Ananda Swarupam. Actually, we are remembering the Sat Chit Ananda Swarupam. Ya means Atma. Nadhiya is our intellect, all our thoughts. Prachodayat means to illumine by giving both the Sat and Sfruti to illumine our mind, our intellect. So that's the meaning of Gayatri. So one thing we have to remember here is there are two ways to remember Gayatri, to chant Gayatri. One, before the study of Vedanta, it becomes Upasana. But this very same Gayatri, after the study of Vedanta, becomes a Nididhyasana mantra. Every time we chant Gayatri, we will be remembering Aham Brahmasmi. That Dhyanam will be remembered once you take it as a Nididhyasanam after the study of Vedanta. It's like, to give an example, 9 ones are 9, 9 twos are 18, like that we studied in our primary school. 9 threes are 27, 9 fours are 36. That was a kind of ritual which we learned that time. It was a sort of upasana. But when we're calculating, when we become adults, when we're calculating, unknowingly we will be using it. Okay, so 9,000 into 4,000 is so much, 36. So with so many zeros, like that. So that is when we internalize the concept of multiplication. When we remember that later in our adulthood, that is Nididhyasana. We'll be every time remembering the actual meaning of it. Like in here, it is about the Aham Brahmasmi Dhyanam. So that's about Gayatri Mantra. So here there are two parts, if you can see. Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi is representing the Brahman, the supreme consciousness. Dhiyayana Prachodayat is representing the Atma within the Jivatma component of it. As you can see in the background, the drop and the ocean or water. The drop, which has a temporary existence, is remembering its source, the water, and it's asking to illumine. It is actually like, it's a sort of absurdity, because once you know it's both the same, it's like left hand giving a thumbs up and right hand replying with one more thumbs up. So it's like the Atma remembering the Brahman. So that is the actual meaning of Gayatri. The same theme is represented in multiple Upanishads too, like Sa Yaschayam Purushe, Yascha Aditye, Sa Ekaha, which comes in Taittiriya Upanishad. So the Purusha part is mentioned in Tatsavitar Varenyam and Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. And so that's the Aditya part, and Dhyoyono Prachodayat is the Purusha part, the person. So these two are equal. Atma, and the equivalence of Brahman and Atma, Jivatma and Paramatma Aikyam, is brought out very beautifully. That's a subtle meaning which is not very apparent unless we go into depths of Vedanta. So that's about Gayatri Mantra. So now going further to today's topic. Just to the next slide. Yes. Are you seeing my slide now? Yes. So we'll remember Vedas are user manual for humanity, life, its goals and means. Vedas are the great scriptures which come when we buy any object, anything in Amazon or in any shop, it comes with a user manual. Any medicine you buy, the box contains an instruction manual. Like that, for mankind, Vedas have come as a GPS or a user manual. It's in as cryptic and as in thin print. So that's something which is our effort should be there to understand before we actually make a meaning for our life. And conveniently, the Vedas are divided into two parts, Veda Purva and Veda Anta. And to have a peek into what Veda Purva and Veda Anta deals with, we can consider under four heads. First is the Vishaya. What is the subject matter of Veda Purva? Subject matter of Veda Purva is all the actions what we do in life. Everything, whatever we are inclined to do, everything, whatever we are compelled to do, we are because of various different reasons and our thoughts and our interests. So all comes under actions or what we do. And what's the benefit of Veda Purva? The rituals mentioned in Veda Purva is to give us Artha, Kama and Dharma. These three Purusharthas are the goals of Veda Purva, the benefit of Veda Purva. In combined, this is karma phalas, that is preyaha. Artha is the wealth, kama is the entertainment or pleasures, and dharma is about punyam. And what's the connection between this? They're doing these rituals and following the instructions in Veda Purva and these three benefits. You'll have to use this. It's like learning to drive in a motor school. After you learn, you'll have to drive your car. You have to use the knowledge. That's the indirect benefit. And who is the target group for Veda Purva? So those who desire for Artha, Kama and Dharma. Most of us, all of us, will eventually be desiring this Artha, Kama and Dharma. And what are the resources required for that? The first and foremost is a faith in the scriptures and knowledge about how to do, and the skill, like if you have to, for example, I gave the example of driving again. So if you have to buy a car, if you have to own a car, then you have to know driving. And you need to have some wealth. In those days, to do some yaga, yajna, certain amount of wealth was required. And a societal permit was also required based on your varna and ashrama, which we have studied earlier. Depending on brahmacharya has some permit to do, grihastha has some permit to do some aspects of these rituals. So like that, so that's the permit aspect of it. So then one who is having the desire, resources and societal permit was called a adhikari, the target group. That's about Veda Purva. Veda Purva encompasses all the possible interests any human can have in general, which falls into these three purusharthas, preyaha, artha, kama and dharma. The next level, once you are satisfied with this artha, kama and dharma, you will think about your existential questions, the knowledge about who am I, jnana, and that is shown in Veda Anta. That's why this clear demarcation between Veda Purva and Veda Anta. The subject matter is jnana, the knowledge of who am I. And the benefit is moksha, that's shreyaha, the fourth purushartha, freedom from emotional dependence on artha, kama and dharma. Because over time, we realize that they're just artha, kama and dharma, whatever we gain are transient, temporary, and eventually it will be mixed with some kind of misery for various reasons. And the sambandha, the connection is that there is a direct benefit. Once you know that, it's something which, it's a knowledge which, like I said, every time you see anything, with every experience, I will come to that, with every experience, you will have the benefit of this knowledge, of this jnana, about what is temporary and what is permanent, and what to lean on to have a permanent security and support. And this is the target for our today's discussion. Who is an adhikari? Who is the target group to study Veda Anta? So it's given us 4 Ds. First is the discrimination, the Viveka, to discriminate between the goals of Dharma, Artha, Kama versus Moksha. Second D is dispassion or Vairagya for Dharma, Artha, Kama, and the what comes out of Dharma, Artha, Kama. So to have a dispassionate attitude towards the outcome of Dharma, Artha, Kama is Vairagya. We'll come to that in detail. And a desire, an intense yearning to get liberated, that's Mumukshutvam. That's a desire for moksha. And the fourth D is discipline, that is Shatka Sampatti. We'll come to that later. So this is the structure of Vedas, the user manual for humanity. So here we'll keep seeing the Sanskrit terms, the technical terms, which are called paribhasha shabda or jargon, like how we use check, draft, withdraw, transfer, means something in a bank, like that admit, scan, operate, ventilate means different thing in medical field. Like that in Vedanta, this sadhana, kosha, ashrama, samsara, mumukshu, Vairagya. If you look in dictionary, what the meaning given will be different than the actual meaning. Like a scan can mean various different things. Like that, so just by using a dictionary, unless we know the context, the jargon means different things in different fields. So the purpose of this introductory classes is to know the Vedantic jargon and to have a peek into a deeper knowledge into what this paribhasha shabda in Vedanta will mean. First, we'll come to Viveka. It's loosely translated as discrimination. As we will know over time, as we would have already known over time, not many Sanskrit terms can be easily translated into English. Discrimination is sort of bad word. We call racial discrimination, gender discrimination, caste discrimination, which is thought to be a negative word, whereas Viveka is something which is promoted here as a qualification to enter into study of Vedanta. But here, what is that we discriminate into? Here we discriminate between the eternal and the ephemeral. In scriptural jargon, the word discrimination means the sense of judgment, right understanding, or discernment. Question is, what is it differentiating between? Because discrimination generally means there has to be two parties. Tattva Bodha, the basic text of introductory text into Upanishad Vedanta, defines this as Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. So understanding of two terms, that is what is Nitya and what is Anitya, what is permanent and what is impermanent, what is eternal reality and what is ephemeral. Nitya Anitya. How to understand this? If we look around us, we look the universe around us, we discover one fact that the whole world or creation exists within the time framework of time and space. Therefore, there's no object in creation which is beyond time and space. Everything is subject to the onslaught of time. Every object is subject to birth and consequently subject to death also. So, and since I do not experience anything beyond time, I can say that the whole creation is impermanent or ephemeral or perishable in nature. Thus, the perishability or fragility is the intrinsic nature of the entire creation, consisting of things, beings, situations, and relationships. No permanent object. Don't just imagine living beings. It can be anything. It can be a mountain or sun, a volcano or a cloud. Think about anything. Everything is within the confine of time and space. No permanent object, permanent person, permanent situation, and above all, there's no permanent relationship. Fame, position, possession, money, relations, health, this coronavirus now, grief, happiness, building, car, mountain, earth, think whatever, think anything which comes to your mind. None of them are actually permanent. Is sun permanent? No, it is within the framework of time and space. Since the whole world, whole universe is perishable, can it give a lasting security and support? Nothing in the world or the entire world can give me lasting security or support. So if I am going to expect lasting security and support from this world, my expectations are not going to get fulfilled. Disappointment will be the result. Therefore, the right judgment is never depend on the world. Never rely upon the world for lasting security or support. The world cannot give it. Anitya Vastu cannot give it. That does not mean that world is useless. Here we are very important. It's not like, okay, if it is so temporary, then becoming so connected with the world. No, that's not what Vedanta is telling. We consider world is useful. You should not reject the world. The world can give a lot of things, and certainly you can use the world for a lot of things. World can give us entertainment, education, opportunity for service, opportunity for growth. That's what we are doing today. But when it comes for lasting security and support, leaning on the world is risky. This wisdom is with regards to anitya vastu. And if I want to lean on something, think of something, turn towards the nitya vastu and nitya vastu alone. So think of something which is permanent. Right now, everything looks impermanent. Think of that one thing, that X, that unknown, which is permanent, and call it nitya vastu. And get on that. Think about that. This refers to permanent or eternal thing. In Tatvabodha language, that X is called Brahman. That nitya vastu is called Brahman in Tatvabodha language. In religious Quranic language, called God or the Lord. So remember, Lord, it is this X which we are looking at, which we are trying to find, the permanence which we can lean on without any second thought. That is the X, that is the Brahman, that's the God we are trying to find. Therefore, the first lesson is God alone can give permanent security and support. World can give entertainment, education, and opportunity for service. All this, again, is temporary, not permanent. This understanding is called Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka, like a magnet. Every experience, because we are bound by our thoughts, bound by our body, bound by our mind. So we are a mixture of Nitya and Anitya. That's the next lesson we're going to learn. So with every experience, we'll have to understand that it's like two poles of a magnet, which is seen here in the background, Nitya and Anitya. So next we'll see how to practice this discrimination. Discrimination, dispassion, desire, and discipline. Creating a magnet. How do we create a bar magnet? By rubbing iron bar in which the molecules are haphazardly oriented without any polarity. And once we learn with every experience by stroking the magnet, stroking the learnings of Vedanta. If we consider every experience as a way to polarize into Nitya and Anitya, that's how we develop and we practice and we learn this discrimination. Shruti, Yukti, Anubhuti, these are three things which we is generally our attention is drawn into these three in Shastras. Shruti means the scriptures. Yukti is logic, using reasoning. Anubhuti is the experience. So learning with every experience, using reasoning, and with the background of scriptures. Using these three with every experience, we discriminate between Nitya and Anitya. It can be an object, it can be an experience, intellect. With every experience, dissect it out into these two things. What is Nitya in this? What is permanent? What is Anitya in this? What is impermanent? The next step is to be dispassionate, develop Vairagyam for Nitya part of it, impermanent part of it, and to develop an intense desire or yearning for the Nitya part, that X, that Brahman, that God. Try looking towards that. Desire for that liberation, desire, that intense desire to come out of the ills of the samsara, of the impermanence of Anitya Vastu. And that desire, yearning to go towards that pole which gives us liberation is called Bhagavad Gita, Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. So to give a glimpse of what these two falls into, Nitya Anitya differentiation. Consciousness, matter, Chetana, Achetana, sentient, insentient. Attributeless Nirgunam, attributed Sagunam. Changeless Nirvikaram, ever-changing Savikaram. Satya and Mithya. What is Mithya? The Kshetrajna part of it. The Anitya part of it, which has a borrowed existence. And whereas the Satya, the Nirvikara, Nirguna, sentient Chetana, consciousness, otherwise called Purusha, Kshetra, it has an independent existence. Pratibodha Viditam Matam, Amrutatvam hi Vindyate. So this is like with every experience. Pratibodha means with every experience, with every cognition, every knowledge, understanding, emotion, every thought modification. In every cognition or experience or thought, Viditam, it's understood, it is declared, it's recognized and known. What is known? This view that we are a mixture of Nitya and Anitya. And Nitya is ever present. And that's the background, that's the screen on which the play of universe is running. Like this bubble you are seeing, consider a thought experiment for a moment. Consider we are in a world, we are in a universe where we can see only through a soap bubble, like this boy is blowing. Anything beyond the confines of the bubble, we can't see. Like now our host had that feeling because there was a shutdown and it was totally dark. Nothing is seen. Think for a moment. We can see anything, we can perceive anything only through the bubble of our thoughts. Thoughts are created out of our mind. In our real world too, it's not just a thought experiment, it's real. There is no way we can see beyond our thoughts. Imagine something which is beyond our bubble of thoughts, which is anyway temporary. We can't think. Achintya. That X which is present outside the bubble, which is required for the bubbles to be created, where the bubbles come and go, where our thoughts and come and go, where this action is played, but which we can't see, perceive, or think. That is the Nitya Vastu. The space, the air in which the bubble forms. Think about it. The bubble is temporary. Inside it, outside it, there's the air. Once the bubble goes off, the air remains, the space remains. Nitya Vastu remains. Once the thought goes off, is it a vacuum? Is it nothingness? No. There should be something where this play is happening. And that is Nitya. This we see with every experience. Pratibodha Vidhitam Matam. This is what Upanishads will take us further. Develop that Jnana Chakshu, the eye of wisdom. Kshetra Kshetragna, this differentiation. Once we develop this eye of wisdom, those who know thus through the eye of wisdom, the ancient wisdom, the distinction between the field and the knower of the field, and annihilate, who annihilates this matrix of beings, they reach the Supreme. So what is the steps for liberation? Recognize the difference between yourself, Nitya. We'll come to that later. That Nitya is nobody else other than yourself, your own self. And all the knowable objects, the Anitya Vastu. By wearing the eye of wisdom and disregard the clutter and noise of this physical world of bubbles of your thoughts. Just disregard, they are temporary. It comes, it goes. At this moment, you can create 100 bubbles. As you are seeing this slide, you can think of many different thoughts will come to your mind. Again, temporary. But concentrate on where these thoughts are playing around, where these bubbles are hanging around. And once you know, recognize that X, that Brahman, that Lord, where the play is happening, you will say effort. Then coming to the next, Vairagya. As we saw in the magnet, once we polarize our experience into Nitya and Anitya, what we have will be a part which is Anitya. We know, okay, this is temporary. So it is like having a switch, having a remote control. When you want to lean on something which is secure and permanent, you switch to a God channel. But when you are wanting entertainment, education, or when you're growth, or you're looking for a service, then you go into world channel. What is meant by passion? Passion is clinging to the world for security and support. Psychological leaning on the world for security and support is passion. Using the world for entertainment is not passion. So this is we have to be very clear. Like Vedantin doesn't mean like once you are into study of Vedanta, you disregard everything as unreal and you will be aloof. Use the world appropriately. Using for entertainment is not passion. Using the world for education, serving, learning, knowledge, that's not passion. But leaning on the world for security and support, especially psychologically, that is passion. And having understood that the world cannot be relied upon for security and support, gradually withdrawing from this world or stopping leaning on the world for security and support is called passion. This does not mean running away from the world either. Not rejecting, but psychologically, when I need security and support, just change the channel. It's like a TV remote or settings button on your mobile. I have both channels, like FM radio, AM radio. Reliable news, you go for one channel. Entertainment, world channel and God channel. Education and entertainment, use world channel. Security and support, change the channel. This changing the channel or app when I need security and support is called dispassion or Vairagya. Weaning myself away from the world which is born out of discrimination or understanding. Use God and use world appropriately. Do not use an app for settings. Okay? Use like WhatsApp recently was in news for all the bad things. So you use WhatsApp, but use it appropriately, responsibly. Don't think of putting your password in it or putting your bank details in it. Like you use a bridge, but don't try to build a house on it. It's temporary. That's about dispassion. Mumukshutvam is an intense yearning. What yearning? To get liberated. Let me attain moksha. That intense yearning is called Mumukshutvam. Desire for liberation. That's the third qualification. This desire for freedom from the problems caused by depending on the world or anitya vastu leaving. Insecurity with regards to family or everything else, and in fact, all psychological problems are caused by independent, relying on. It's not the problem with the anitya. It's my mistake that I expected permanence out of something which is inherently impermanent. Wrong expectations are the problems. And the problems are caused by wrong expectations or dependencies. That problems, that is called samsara. Mumukshutvam means strong desire to be free from samsara. So when a person wants to get out of this mess, that feeling, that desire is called mumukshutvam. Not just desire, it's an intense yearning. Like a story of a shishya who served his guru for many years, staying with him and taking care of him. That's how the early Gurukula system used to be. Still, Guru had never shown an inclination to teach him the path forward. Frustrated one day, he musters courage and asks his Guru, when are you going to teach me the path of liberation? The teacher responds, okay, come to me tomorrow morning, we'll go to the river. Teacher leads the shishya to the river. Both of them enter water silently. Guru just motions, just walk further. And once they are neck deep, suddenly Guru grabs the head of shishya, pushes him down into water and holds it. Shishya initially feels, okay, this must be some experiment or this is one way of teaching, and he just keeps silent for a while. After some time, he started developing breathlessness. He feels something is not right. What is this Guru doing? He suddenly springs out of water when his desire to breathe gets into such an intensity that he is almost going to die without it. Then he asks Guru, Guruji, what did you do? I was about to die. Then Guru says, you developed this yearning, the desire, the intense desire to come out of water, to breathe. Once your desire to attain moksha, to get liberated, reaches that intensity, come to me. And that's when I'm going to teach you the pathway forward. That intense desire is Mumukshutvam. Like there is nothing else in this world. So what do you want to do? Why do you want to tune into this introduction to Vedanta sessions? Okay, see, I have a lot of things to do. Weekend is coming. Then I will have to plan for my dinner. Then I'll have to call my parents. Then I'll have to take dog for a walk. Then I'll have to go to Gita class. Then I'll have to get ready for tomorrow, some other session. So if Vedanta or this liberation is one of the 10 in your to-do list, that can't be called as Mumukshutvam. That's not an intense yearning. Always you will have to be dreaming of that liberation, coming out of that. You should be having that wound which is pricking you every moment, that without this there is no life. Everything else is secondary. That intense yearning is Mumukshutvam. Like this lamp which you are seeing, to light a lamp, what is required? We require oil, we require a wick, and necessarily somebody who lights it. But will you be ready with a lamp if there's a copious amount of oil as well as wick dipped into it? Have you ever tried how hard it is to light a lamp in spite of repeated attempts? Unless you sharpen the tip of the wick, squeeze the excess oil out of the tip of the wick. There should be a reason, there should be that intense need within you. And if the wick is ready, it's sharpened, the Mumukshutvam, then as long as once the lit matchstick is brought near the wick, suddenly it gets that flame and starts with a spark and continues to glow. That is Mumukshutvam. That moment, get set, ready, 1, 2, 3, go. That's when, or when like an arrow, when you are pulling an arrow and you are about to leave, that moment is Mumukshutvam. That intense yearning to get out of this samsara. That is the intense yearning to come out for the live. So this is the third and the most important of the 3 qualifications, Mumukshutvam, the desire. And here we are telling liberation. So he's a he's a seeker of moksha. Just can somebody remind me of time? I'm just a sec. Okay, we have time. So this one interesting thing is this word, as I was talking about the jargon in Sanskrit, it's a very strange looking word. Viveka, Vairagya, you would have heard many different times. Mumukshutvam, difficult to pronounce. Mumukshu, one who is desiring of moksha. It's a class of, for Sanskrit students will know, with a prefix. Seeking moksha, somebody who is trying to come out. It comes from much dhatu, means to get out of, to get liberated. One who is yearning to get liberated is a mumukshu. Okay. Similarly, other words will come like jignasu, shushushu. One who is intensely wanting to hear is a shushushu. Jignashu. One who is intensely wanting to seek, when intensely seeking knowledge is jignasu. These are the next words we are going to learn after Mumukshutvam. Mumukshutvam is a generic need, that yearning to get out, but you don't know how to get out. He's moksha. Only later you realize that liberation is only possible through self-knowledge. And once you start knowing that, and once you start seeking that knowledge, Mumukshu gets promoted as a jignasu, one who seeks knowledge. And how is self-knowledge possible? Self-knowledge is possible only through self-inquiry. And how is self-inquiry possible? What's the best, only possible way to get to the proper route of self-inquiry is through scriptural study. Our original we'll have to go to the package insert and see our instruction manual, and that is our scriptures. And who will guide us? We can't understand the language without the guidance of a qualified guru. Shrotriya Brahmanishta. So liberation is only possible through self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is only possible through self-inquiry. Self-inquiry is possible only through scriptural study. And that is possible only through a qualified guru. Mumukshu, the seeker of moksha, gets promoted as a jignasu, a seeker of knowledge. And from there, he becomes a seeker of guru's teaching, shushushu. So that is when, that's the right path. Then he surrenders to at the feet, asking a path to understand scriptures for self-inquiry, to gain knowledge, and to gain moksha. That's Mumukshutvam. Discrimination, dispassion, discipline, and desire. We'll come to the discipline in the next sessions. Discrimination is to know the difference between Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Dispassion, or the Vairagyam, is to have a kind of the attitudinal change towards Dharma, Artha, Kama, and the outcome of it, where we keep it as secondary. And desire for moksha, that's Mumukshutvam. And discipline, which we'll come to later, the Shatka Sampatti for study. If these four are there, then I will be a candidate for Vedanta. And the aim of scriptural study, spiritual study, is transforming every seeker from Veda Purva candidate to a Veda Anta candidate. We are all naturally candidates for Veda Purva. We are always striving for Artha, Kama, and Dharma. So the transition from Veda Purva to Veda Anta student is what is happening by getting these qualifications. Then alone, once we get into that study, we will be in the right path towards moksha. So that ends my talk for today. So we are open for questions.
Yes, kindly
Folks, I'll
unmute
stop.
yourself and ask any questions.
You can answer some of the quiz questions which I am part.
Thank you so much.
What are the 3 steps for getting jnana yoga? Anybody can answer once you mute, so that we can lighten up and start our question answer session. I will give you the answer. Shravana, the systematic learning under a guru for a length of time. Manana, clearing all doubts. Nididhyasanam is internalization and conversion of this knowledge to emotional strength. So this is the next question. Anybody can answer. What is dispassion? The absence of desire for enjoyment for this world, for the fruits of actions in this world as also in the other world. Is it true or false? Anybody? Please unmute yourself, and if you can answer. It's a true statement. Dispassion or Vairagya is the absence of desire for enjoyment of the fruits of one's action in this world as well as also in the other world.
True.
Let me attain moksha, liberation. This intense yearning is called
Mumukshutvam.
Thank you. Mumukshutvam. So what are the 4-fold qualifications we learned today? Sadhana Chatushchaya Sampatti, the capacity to discriminate between the permanent and impermanent, dispassion to the enjoyment of fruits of one's action here and hereafter, desire, the yearning for liberation, and what is yet to come, the group of 6 accomplishments.
Discipline.
Discipline, correct. So these are 4-fold qualifications. Thereafter, having acquired these 4-fold qualifications, they become
Adhikari.
Adhikari, persons fit for inquiry into the truth. Thank you. So I will stop sharing. So we are open for questions now.
Yourself and ask any questions. Thank you, Dr. Komal. That was really very, very interesting. And now we will have the question answer session. Any questions? Kindly unmute yourself and ask questions, or you can put them in the chat box.
Thank you.
The problem today is that where to get a guru?
See, when Shishya is ready, the Guru will come. If the intense yearning is of such intensity as that Shishya who was underwater trying to come out, as much needed as you want to breathe, to take one breath of air, that's when Guru will appear in front of you in various different forms. And it's true. It's not something which is just to pass the question. It happens. And I seriously believe in this age and time, when that wick is ready, as I said, like you keep the wick ready in a lamp and keep the lamp next to your screen in your place. And it's no wonder if you are ready with such an intensity, the lamp will get lit in your end when you are actually in a internet session like this. That's how I can answer that. You have to be ready. Like if it is one of your 10 in your to-do list, then no, that's not the way. It's not one more course I do in Coursera or edX or some Harvard Online or Byju's or something like that. It's not time pass. It's something which is serious, intense. That yearning, that's why this Mumukshutvam is important.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, it does.
Go ahead.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Kindly unmute yourself and ask.
It can be any burning, simple question which you feel is out of sync. This ancient wisdom is out of sync with today's reality in 21st century. Whatever simple you can think, you can ask. Don't go by this scriptural jargon. You can ask in simple terms. What is burning question to go further towards Vedanta?
Questions? It could be on the Gayatri Mantra. It could be
Yes.
on anything, as Doctor said.
See, when you get this kind of scriptural jargon, we tend to see these translations and get misled. So that's somewhere that's why we need a guru. We have to be under a qualified guru to go further. Like Bhur Bhuva Swaha, we say 3 lokas. Where do you see 3 lokas in this world? We have peeked into, we have seen into all the corners of the universe. Where are these 3 lokas? Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. You remember? Anybody can answer that one? Bhu is about the physical universe, what we see. It's like you imagine that X, we are into inquiry into looking at an X, that unknown, which is unthinkable and which is unseen, unexperienceable. Okay, and once we imagine that X is actually existent, and that is the one which created the great architect of universe to consider, the Lord or the God or Brahman, then what will be his relationship with this universe and world? It can be of 3 different types. One is like he, out of playfulness, he created this world and just left it there and went on to mind his own business. That is, he said God as a creator. That will be the Bhur aspect of it. You'll be considering only the physical universe, which is a product created by God. And he is present in that, immanent within that. That is the Bhuvasva. Bhuva component is, he is immanent. He is in there. God is there in a pillar, like how Prahlada shown. God is there here, God is there here, everywhere he is there. He is not just created the God, but he not just created the universe and things within it, but he is also existent as a part of that. So that is Bhuvaha. He is there as well as he is created as well as Amitta Abhina Nimitta Upadana Karanam. He is there. And the third way to look at it is Swaha. That's the other loka, where it's a transcendental. What Vedanta says, it's not just immanent and transcendental. The world, what we see out there, is just a imagery, just a unreal, anitya vastu, which is the only part we can perceive because we are bound in this body and mind. So it's quite intense, the real understanding of it. And if we go to word by word meaning in depth, a whole world will open into us. And it will be in sync with whatever logic you can think of. I spoke about yukti, anubhuti, and what's the third one? Shruti. Shruti will be always aligned with what you can think with your logic and what you experience in your day-to-day life, not just during Vedic period, even in 21st century. This manual for life, manual for mankind is eternal. It came along with the creation, and it is as relevant as it is today as it was many hundreds and thousands of years ago. Questions?
Thank you, Doctor. Any other questions?
If I can make a comment.
Please go ahead, Doctor.
Absolutely brilliant, Komal. The way you explain the Gayatri Mantra is like what a traditional Vedanta teacher would explain. You went into all the appropriate details of every aspect of Gayatri Mantra, from the pranava, the vyavritti, and the actual Gayatri Mantra, and the significance of the mantra, knowing the meaning and without the meaning. The qualifications, the first three qualifications that you explained very systematically with the very innovative slides, with a real depth of Vedanta. What Dr. Komal demonstrates also is that you can be in the thick of Vyavahara. You can be a practicing neurosurgeon, doing complex neurosurgical works in a regular basis, running a family, working through all the traffic, and yet without having to leave the comfort of your home, to be able to understand what these great acharyas, which are only on the banks of the Ganga, thanks to our Guru Tattva, which has percolated. We should really thank at this moment Swami Chinmayananda, who broke this tradition that it should be given only to the renunciates. And it brought it down to the common man through various paramparas of Acharya. So Komal has demonstrated that, the Guru Tattva is there. Without Guru Tattva, such a presentation is impossible. And it is glory to the Guru Tattva that Komal is radiating. Really enjoy your presentation. That is.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Komal. It was really a wonderful presentation, and people have said so also in the chat box. Your slides also people have appreciated, because the slides have made it so easy to understand. So thank you so much. The Gayatri Mantra, as Dr. Thimmappa Hegde said, was wonderful. And then Viveka, Vairagya, very beautifully were explained to us. You see, the common person, you made it so easy to understand. We look forward to having you again, Doctor, once the school is open now. So in person, we would like you to come there and talk to all our satsangis. Thank you so much, Dr. Thimmappa Hegde. It was wonderful. Thank you so much for arranging all these talks for us, for all the satsangis of the School of Ancient Wisdom. We really are so indebted to you and the team of Param Vedanta. Thank you so much. And everyone, we look forward to having you with us next week. We have Dr. Ravi Shankar, and that will be session 6. So kindly join us and tell all your friends also. So thank you so much. And we look forward to meeting Dr. Ravi Shankar next week. Thank you, Dr. Hegde. Thank you, Dr. Komal.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and have a good evening. Bye.